The world was a blood-soaked canvas. Kyle Maverick, life support engineer from the doomed Persephone, had been dragging himself across this nightmare landscape for what felt like forever. His escape pod, a mangled scar on the planet's surface miles back, sent out a feeble distress signal into the uncaring Gulf. His precious water was almost gone. Gnawing hunger was a constant companion, a brutal reminder of his dwindling reserves. Each step was agony, a calculation of loss. The crash, a savage, instant catastrophe. A micrometeor storm, the cold report would say, if anyone ever filed one, if anyone cared. Had the others survived? Were any fellow crew members alive in other pods? The questions hammered at him, but survival demanded his full attention. He collapsed against a jagged, rust-colored rock formation, seeking futile shelter from the merciless twin suns. Then, a change in the wind, a low growl carried with it death. Your kind are now prey. The words spoken with chilling certainty by a figure now visible against the horizon, LRA. Her mercy shocked Kyle even more than the crash. Instead of killing him, she snatched the spear from his weak grip, handling the ancient weapon with a strange reverence and underlying fear. The charred remains of his meal tumbled into the dirt, instantly forgotten. Walk, she commanded, her voice brooking no argument. You will see what your actions have caused. He stumbled to his feet, his body screaming in protest. I don't understand. Understanding will come. Walking now. She nudged him forward with the spear's blunt end, keeping the heated bone away from her skin. Hours bled into each other as they traversed the cruel terrain. Kyle, already on the edge, struggled to keep pace with her effortless movements. She flowed like water, while he sank with each painful stride. In a shadowed ravine, Kyle saw it, a dark, viscous stain near a massive boulder. He cautiously approached. A corpse, or what remained of one. A six-legged creature, a herbivore, its thick hide torn to ribbons, as if by claws of light. Its insides had been taken out with impossible precision, the hollow cavity buzzing with alien insects that scattered as he drew near. The horde, LRA said, noticing his horrified gaze. They don't simply kill, they consume. 100 yards further, they reached a horrifying tableau. Dozens of decaying bodies in a perfect circle. At the center, a pulsating crystal, the same sickly light he'd seen in the spear's carvings. Breeding ground, LRA said, her golden eyes turning sharp. New, more come. As they continued, Kyle, despite his terror, couldn't suppress his engineer's eye. The layered rock formation spoke of ancient floods. Crystalline deposits hinted at hidden water. The angles of the cliffs suggested long-ago tectonic shifts. Water is nearby, he said, breaking the silence. These crystals, they need mineral-rich water to form. LRA did not slow. I could help you find it, he pressed. Improve your water collection. She stopped, turning sharply. You think we don't know water? You think we need human to find what has sustained us for generations? The word human was venom. Save your help. You have helped enough. The scorn silenced him, but he saw it, a flicker of curiosity beneath her rage. She'd been listening, considering his words, even as she rejected them. This weapon, she said as they continued, her understanding of his language growing. Not for fire, sacred, danger. She struggled, supplementing her words with gestures. The spear was made from the bone of the Silent Wanderer, a vast, blind predator that had once ruled this world, the same creature he had seen dead. The bone, when heated, released a unique signal, a signal only they could hear. "The Horde," she said, her back stiff as she walked. "The planet's curse." This signal, she explained, meant Wanderer dead. The Great Hunt begins. "Great Hunt?" Kyle gasped, stumbling. She paused, those unnerving eyes fixing on him. "Hunt everything. Consume everything until nothing but them remains." The icy dread seeped into Keel's bones, a chilling premonition that hung heavy in the air. The frigid desert air had nothing to do with the shivers racing down his spine as the twin suns dipped lower. "I activated this signal," he choked out, already dreading the answer. "Yes," she confirmed, her voice flat. "You have summoned death to us all." Reaching the crest, Keel gasped. A colossal canyon yawned below, its layered walls a symphony of ochre, crimson, and profound violet stone. Nestled within, cradled by this natural fortress, lay a settlement. Structures crafted from bone, hide, and shimmering crystal caught the fading light, creating a breathtaking alien tapestry. Plumes of smoke curled from numerous cooking fires. Figures moved, all bearing the same blue-tinged skin as Lara, their hair ranging from her pristine white to hues of silver and pale gold. It was beautiful, otherworldly, and now, because of him, teetering on the precipice of annihilation. Lara's fingers dug into his bicep like a vice. "You come now. You face those you have condemned." She dragged him down the treacherous path toward the village, her slight frame belying her incredible strength. Keel stumbled repeatedly on the loose scree, but she never faltered, never offered a hand. He was a burden, not a partner. The village pulsed with panic. Blue-skinned warriors sharpened bone and metal weapons, while others shepherded children into the deepest caves. Elders, their skin a paler blue, etched with intricate tattoos or scars, had gathered at the canyon's mouth. Seeing Keel, their faces twisted with fury. "The outsider!" one bellowed, a gnarled finger pointing accusingly. His white beard was elaborately braided with tiny crystals and bones that chimed with his movements. "He brings death!" The crowd surged forward, weapons raised. Keel braced himself, expecting oblivion, but Elra moved between him and her enraged people, her posture radiating an unyielding authority. "He did not know!" she shouted, her voice echoing across the canyon. "His guilt is ignorance, but he is the cause." Turning to Keel, her golden eyes inscrutable, she declared, "He will either help us survive or die with us." A towering warrior emerged from the throng, his blue skin a canvas of ritual scars forming complex patterns. His head was shaved save for a central crest of silver-white hair, and metal bands embedded with what appeared to be teeth adorned his arms. Unlike Lura's golden gaze, his eyes were a deep midnight blue that seemed to absorb light itself. "You defend the destroyer, Lura?" His voice, a resonant baritone, carried the weight of command. "Has your time among the trading posts softened your resolve?" "My resolve is to our people's survival, Kraz," Lura retorted, her chin raised defiantly. "Not to blind tradition." Kraz advanced, looming over them both. His hand rested on the hilt of a massive blade slung across his back. "Tradition kept us alive when the last call came. When my family, my children, were torn apart before my very eyes. His gaze shifted to Keel, hatred radiating from him like a physical force. The pink-skins have no place here, and this one has doomed us. Then kill me, Lura challenged. Waste his knowledge. Waste any advantage we might gain. Knowledge, Kraz scoffed. What could this frail creature know that would aid us against the Horde? Test him, Kraz, Lura insisted. Then decide. An elder stepped forward, placing a gnarled hand on Kraz's arm. Wisdom before action, war leader. Let us hear the outsider. Kraz's jaw tightened, but he relented, stepping back. Speak, Doombringer. What knowledge do you bring that could possibly outweigh your crime? All eyes turned to Keel. Exhaustion threatened to engulf him, but he straightened, meeting the warrior's gaze. I'm an engineer, he said simply. I solve problems. Kraz's laugh was like stones grinding together. You are the problem. Then I'll solve myself, Keel replied, his voice surprisingly steady, along with your dire predicament. A ripple of murmurs ran through the crowd. Surprise, skepticism, and, perhaps, a flicker of fragile hope. Before Kraz could retort, the canyon was rent by screams. A sentry stumbled into the gathering, blood gushing from a deep gash across his chest. A scout, he gasped. At the South Passage. He collapsed, revealing a foot-long, barbed stinger protruding from his back. Chaos erupted. Warriors seized weapons. Elders herded children deeper into the caves. Kraz roared orders, organizing a defensive line. Let me see it, Keel demanded, grabbing Lura's arm. The scout creature. Let me help. Lura hesitated, then nodded sharply. Come. They raced toward the South Passage, Kraz and 6 of his fiercest warriors leading the way. The passage narrowed into a natural bottleneck, barely wide enough for 2 people to walk abreast. Beyond it, something stirred in the shadows, something that clicked and chittered with metallic precision. There, Lura whispered, pointing. The creature emerged into the fading light. It resembled a monstrous scorpion crossed with a mantis, its segmented carapace gleaming with an oily iridescence. 8 pincers that clicked with anticipation. 6 appendages terminated in jagged pincers, their clicks echoing with palpable eagerness. The creature's front limbs ended in wickedly curved claws, while a 7th appendage, a whip terminating in the same venomous stinger that felled the sentry, arched menacingly above. It possessed no eyes, just pulsating vibration sensors tracing the contours of its skull. Kra and his warriors braced, shields locking together as a single wall. The beast paused, antennae twitching, calculating the threat. Those plates on its chest, Kyle whispered, his voice laced with urgency. Overlapping armor, but its joints are exposed. LRA scrutinized the creature with newfound awareness. The scout lunged, the stinger a blur. It slammed into a warrior's shield, the barb piercing the tough hide, narrowly missing his face. The warrior staggered, his arm going numb. Kraz roared, swinging his massive blade at the creature's head. The edge struck, but glanced harmlessly off the armored carapace, barely scratching it. The creature retaliated, claws snapping at Kraz's legs. He leaped back, but too late. A claw tore through his leather armor, drawing a line of blood on his thigh. The joints, Kay shouted. Between the 3rd and 4th segments. LRA drew an arrow, her golden eyes narrowed in fierce concentration. She aimed not for the body, but for the chink Keel had identified. The arrow flew unerringly, slipping between the armored plates and embedding itself in the soft flesh beneath. A screech, like metal grinding against metal, ripped from the creature's throat. It thrashed wildly, its movements losing coordination. Kraz seized the moment, plunging his blade into the same vulnerable spot, twisting with brutal force. The scout collapsed, limbs twitching as death claimed it. Ichor, thick and phosphorescent, pooled beneath its body. Kraz turned to Kyle, his dark eyes filled with a new respect. "You saw its weakness." "Engineering," Kyle replied. "Everything has structural vulnerabilities, even living armor." "The Horde is coming," LRA said, her voice tight with dread. "This was only the first." Kra glanced from LRA to Kyle, then back at the fallen scout. A decision hardened his face. "You have until dawn," he told Kyle. "Show us how engineers make war." They confined Kyle to a vacant cave, the entrance sealed with a crude door woven from bone, more for sanctuary from vengeful villagers than to prevent escape. Through the lattice, he watched the village brace for conflict. Children cried as they were herded deeper into the canyon. Warriors adorned their faces with symbols that glowed faintly in the twilight. Elders performed rituals, burning herbs that released acrid smoke. Guilt weighed on him, crushing his spirit. He hadn't intended any of this. He had only wanted to survive. One small fire, one simple meal, and he had condemned these people. The bone door rattled and swung inward. LRA entered, carrying a clay pot of water and a small bowl of dried meat. She placed them before him, her expression unreadable. "Why did you defend me?" Kyle asked, his throat parched with fear. "I defend my people's best chance," she replied, her tone cutting. "Not you." She lingered, crouching before him, studying his face with her unnerving golden eyes. "What do you know of resonance?" she asked suddenly. "A frequency's propagation," Kyle answered, startled by the question's technical nature. "I know quite a bit, actually. My specialization was environmental systems, life support, habitation design. Sound vibration is crucial for human comfort in confined spaces." The spear's signal. "Describe what you felt when it activated." "Low-frequency vibration," he said, trying to recall the exact sensation. "Below the normal human hearing threshold at first, then rising. It seemed to affect my inner ear, caused nausea." LRA nodded slightly. "The Wanderer hunts by sound, not sight. The Horde fears the sound of its approach. It's, what is your word? Echolocation. So the heated bone mimics this echolocation, drives them away." "No." LRA's expression darkened. "What you did, heating it over open flame, it creates the death cry, the signal that the apex predator is gone, safe for them to emerge to feed." She leaned closer. "But the Wanderer's bone can create other signals too. Our shamans know some, not enough." Kyle's mind raced with the possibilities. "It's about the specific frequency pattern, the heating method, duration, maybe even the part of the bone used." He looked up sharply. "You have other weapons like this, other bones. Some are sacred, not for outsiders." "I don't need to touch them," Kyle pressed. "Just understand how they work, how they're used. Physics doesn't care about sacred or profane, LRA. It cares about wavelengths, amplitudes, resonance patterns." She stared at him, clearly not comprehending his jargon, but grasping his meaning. "You think you can create a signal to drive them away?" "I think I can try, but I need to understand the tools I'm working with. LRA stood abruptly. Rest now. Tomorrow our war leader Kra will test your worth in council. You're feeling overwhelmed, I understand. The sheer weight of existence can sometimes feel crushing, like an unbearable burden on your shoulders. Allow yourself a moment, just a single, precious breath, to acknowledge the intensity of those feelings. Let the emotions wash over you, without judgment or resistance. You are human, and these experiences are intrinsically part of that journey. Embrace the present with kindness and compassion, knowing that even in the darkest moments, resilience and inner strength reside within you, waiting to be awakened. This feeling, too, will eventually pass. The knowledge you possess could be our salvation. Share it now. She turned toward the exit, then hesitated, her voice edged with warning. Lie to us, fail us, and he'll tear you apart himself. The bone door slammed shut, leaving Kyle alone, the weight of their survival crushing him with the certainty that he didn't even possess the needed wisdom. The following day, at the Council of Elders, Kyle stood in a hollowed-out chamber within the canyon's heart. Sunlight cascaded through ceiling crystals, painting the gathering in shifting rainbows. Kra sat directly across from him, flanked by scarred veterans of countless horde battles. LRA stood silently nearby, her expression carefully blank. The outsider claims he holds the key to our survival. The eldest council member, her once blue skin now faded and pearlescent, declared, "But Kra demands proof of his worth." Kra rose, his shadow swallowing the light. "Words are empty. Deeds speak the truth. Show us you deserve to stand with the Nakai, outsider." Two warriors stepped forward, bearing an array of brutal weapons, jagged blades, a crystalline spiked club, and a crude bow. "Choose," Kra commanded. "Then face me." A ripple of unease spread through the chamber. Even LRA seemed alarmed. "He is weakened from his journey," she protested. "This is not a just test." Kra's voice was a low growl. "The Horde will not be just. If he cannot face one warrior, how can he face thousands?" Kyle surveyed the weapons, then Kra. The warrior outweighed him by at least 100 pounds of solid muscle. In his weakened state, he wouldn't last a moment in a direct confrontation. But he had survived the desert using more than just brawn. "No," he stated, his voice ringing with conviction. The chamber fell silent. "You refuse the challenge?" Kra's voice was deceptively soft. "I refuse the premise," Kyle retorted. "You want me to prove my worth? Fine, but it'll be on my terms." He turned to address the council. "You face an enemy that overwhelms you, that seeks to devour you, and your answer is to stand and trade blows?" He shook his head. "That's not bravery. That's suicide." Kra took a threatening step forward, but the elder raised a hand, silencing him. "Let him speak." "I'm an engineer," Kyle continued. "I don't win battles with brute strength. I win them with ingenuity." He tapped his temple. "The scout we killed yesterday had weaknesses. Every structure has a flaw. Give me 1 day, 10 of your warriors. Let me show you another face of battle." A wave of derisive laughter swept through the chamber. Traps, walls, these were the tactics of the weak. But LRA, her authority strengthened by her accurate prediction of the scout attack and successful kill, intervened. "Grant him 10 warriors and a single day," she said, her voice admitting no argument. "Let us witness what the outsider's cunning can achieve." Kra's face darkened with fury. "When his tricks crumble and the horde descends, I will offer him to them myself." "And if my plan fails," Kyle replied evenly, "I'll willingly walk out to meet them." The council approved the proposal, though few expected it to succeed. As they dispersed, LRA approached Kyle. "You've made a formidable enemy," she murmured. "I've already triggered an alien beacon summoning a horde of flesh-eating monsters," Kyle responded with grim humor. "What's one more?" For the first time, a flicker of a smile touched LRA's lips. "You are either incredibly brave or profoundly foolish, Kyle of Earth." "Engineers prefer the term innovative," he quipped. "Now show me the canyon's secrets, and tell me everything about these creatures we're up against." Kyle worked relentlessly, his engineer's mind racing despite his body's exhaustion. Instead of a traditional wall, he exploited the canyon's natural features. He showed the warriors how to weaken rock outcroppings, creating precarious balances to unleash strategic avalanches. He directed them to excavate concealed pits along likely pathways, arming them with sharpened bone stakes. He identified narrow passages where the horde's numbers would become a liability. The blue-skinned warriors, initially dismissive, gradually developed respect for this new approach to warfare. They had never considered battle in such terms. Physics, leverage, stress points. This was a battle waged in the mind. "You fight with thoughts," observed Kra, who had arrived to observe their progress with open disdain. "We fight with hearts and blood. When your schemes fail, remember that I offered you a warrior's death. What the horde will give you will be far worse." "These aren't just traps," Kyle explained, knowing the warrior wouldn't understand. "They're a system, each designed to channel the horde into killing zones where your warriors can engage them with maximum effect. Hiding behind rocks, acting like prey animals, using the environment," Kyle corrected, "like apex predators, like your silent wanderer did." Nal's a growing understanding, an acknowledgement of the shared burdens carried by both groups. It implies a nascent empathy, a willingness to see past surface differences and recognize a common struggle. Silence engulfed Kra as he meticulously studied the deadly trap they'd just set, a precarious rock ledge balanced, awaiting a single precise strike. The lone wanderer walked alone, without subterfuge, he finally rumbled. "And the wanderer died," Kale countered softly, "leaving behind bones that became weapons for your people. Perhaps with a little ingenuity, it would still safeguard this world." Kra's midnight eyes narrowed, a flicker of rage threatening to erupt. Then abruptly, he turned and strode away. "Why do you goad him so?" Lura murmured, appearing beside Kale. "The horde has taken so much from him." "As it has from all of you," Kale acknowledged. "But you're willing to adapt to survive." He seems determined to perish with honor. As they toiled, Kale learned more about the Nye. Once nomadic, they followed herds across crimson plains until the earth-shaking presence of the lone wanderer forced them into the canyons. The wanderer had kept the horde in check, a brutal but vital balance. Generations ago, it had fallen. Now, only weapons carved from its bones held the horde at bay, emitting a heat signal, a false warning, until Kale unwittingly reversed it, transforming the signal into a lure. Evening brought the scout's ravaged remains. His blue body was mutilated, great chunks torn away. With his dying breath in Lura's arms, he whispered one word: coming. Sleepless, the earth throbbed with growing intensity. Lura approached Kale, adding the finishing touches to the defenses. "Your traps?" she asked, a flicker of hope in her voice. "Will they work?" "They'll slow them," Kale admitted grimly. "Give you a fighting chance. But there are too many. It won't be enough to win." "Why help us?" she pressed. "You could hide. Wait it out." Kale met her gaze, fatigue etched on his face. "I have a daughter. She's 10. I haven't seen her since she was born. This run was meant to be my last. I was going home." He choked back emotion. "Her mother and I. We didn't last, but I've sent credits, building a life for her. Every dangerous run. It was all for her, so I could be the father she deserves." Silence descended. "Her name's Ellie. She has my eyes, her mother's smile. I've only seen her through transmissions, growing in images while I hauled cargo." His voice wavered. "This run would have paid off everything. I was going to buy land near her school, build something permanent." "And now you defend strangers," Lura observed softly. "I want there to be places where fathers return to their daughters. Your village is one of them. If I can help, I will." In that moment, Lura saw beyond the outsider, saw the father yearning for his child. His fate became intertwined with hers. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "We fight together, engineer of Earth, for your daughter and our children." Kra watched their exchange, his face unreadable, his gaze lingering on a small bone pendant around his neck, a child's toy, etched with care. The ground trembled, louder now. An alien chittering echoed from the canyon, raising the hair on Kale's neck. Kra moved to his side, a dark silhouette. "They come," he announced. "To battle stations. We shall see if these tricks of yours are worth the effort." Lura's grip tightened on Kale's shoulder. "They are faster than predicted. We needed more time." "We'll use what we have," Kale said, rolling up his map. "Get your archers to the high ground. Signal teams to avalanche triggers. I need your fastest runners to communicate." Lura nodded, eyes shining with determination. "And you?" "I'll be at the command point we established. Coordinating." "Directing," Kra interrupted. Kale held his gaze. "Each of us uses our weapons. Yours is strength. Mine is strategy." Kra paused, then gave a curt nod. Disdain faded before the urgency of the moment. "Outsider, fight with every fiber of your being, in whatever manner you deem possible." The Horde offered no mercy, and the village braced for war. Children and elders sought sanctuary in the deepest caves, while warriors took up arms. Some fortified Kel's key points, others formed traditional battle lines under Kra's command. Perched on a canyon ledge, Cal scanned the darkness beyond, a darkness that writhed and throbbed. The chittering intensified, a chorus of scraping claws on stone. Then they surged into the starlight, a ravenous tide of Khitan, a nightmare of fangs and claws. Attacking with the dawn, they were not an army, but a churning, segmented mass, limbs flailing, carapaces gleaming. The vanguard crashed into the canyon mouth, their combined weight a brutal force against Kra and his elite. A wall of shields and blades. Cal's hands clenched the rock, knuckles white, as he gave the order. "First avalanche team, stand by." The young Nye messenger tensed, poised to run. The creatures slammed into Kra's line with sickening force. The Nakai warriors strained, shields locked, yielding ground inch by agonizing inch. Kra's roar sliced through the din as his weapon carved through attackers. Yet for every fallen creature, 3 more lunged forward. "They're losing!" the runner cried, his voice tight with dread. "We need the avalanche now." "Not yet," Cal countered, his gaze fixed on the carnage below. "Too soon, and we bury our own." Kra has to reach the marker to fall back. "They won't," the runner protested, and not Kra, not his elite. Cal knew it was true. The warriors fought with unwavering courage, but pride held them back from retreat. They were dying where they stood. "New plan," Cal declared. "Signal the second team. Force them to flank. Give Kra a chance to regroup." The runner darted away, and soon, an avalanche cascaded down the canyon wall, crushing scores of creatures scaling the heights. The horde, momentarily disoriented, surged toward the remaining paths, just as Cal had predicted. The pressure on Kra's position eased, but instead of retreating, the warrior roared in triumph, driving forward. "No, damn it," Cal growled. "Hold the line. Don't advance." But Kra, blinded by what he perceived as victory, ignored orders. His warriors surged ahead, shattering the defensive line. Sensing the lapse in strategy, the horde engulfed the advancing warriors. Kra and his elite were surrounded, isolated from the main force. From above, Nakai archers rained arrows, targeting vulnerable joints identified by Cal. But even with the shots striking their marks, the sheer number of enemies was too much. Cal's mind spun. Kra's recklessness had shattered the plan. If he fell, Nakai morale would collapse. A sickening choice loomed. "Signal the first avalanche," he told the returning runner. The youth's eyes widened. "Kra and his warriors are still in the zone." "I know," Cal said grimly. "But if we don't seal that entrance, we lose everything, the entire village." The runner hesitated, then raced away with the order. Cal watched as the signal fire blazed. High above, the Nakai team released the final supports. With a deafening roar, tons of rock crashed down, burying the horde and sealing Kra's fate. "Forgive me," Cal whispered, knowing Kra could not hear. As the dust settled, Cal spotted Kra and a few surviving fighters, backed against the rockfall, fighting with desperate fury. The battle raged on across multiple fronts. Avalanches thundered, channeling the horde into killing zones where Nakai warriors waited. Pit traps claimed hundreds, the creatures impaled on sharpened stakes below. But they were too many, climbing over their fallen, breaching defenses, finding new paths. A second wave, larger than the first, loomed on the horizon. Cal saw the unfolding pattern. The defenses slowed the enemy, inflicted casualties, but they were being overwhelmed. Signal to begin the evacuation. He barked orders to reinforce the inner caves, tasking a runner with preparing secondary defenses. Turning back, a wave of dread washed over him as he witnessed Lara locked in a deadly struggle at a breach in their line. Her blade danced desperately in the sunlight, leading a counterattack to seal the gap. Even from afar, the crimson stain blooming on her side spoke of grievous injury, yet she fought on with undiminished resolve. Nearby, against all odds, Kra still stood defiant, carving his path back from death's door, a testament to the warrior's iron will. His shield lost, his armor torn, he met the endless tide, his weapon a constant blur, a dance of death. Suddenly, Kale's blood ran cold as a monstrous creature twice the size of the others bulldozed through the ranks, its carapace marked with unique patterns, its movements far more deliberate, intelligent. A leader, he realized with horror, confirming a terrifying command structure. It lunged toward Lara, its massive limbs sweeping aside 3 defenders like ragdolls. Kra, sensing the imminent danger, charged to intercept, only to be swarmed by lesser creatures. Lara stood alone, her blade a mere splinter against the behemoth's armored bulk. Kale knew her intent, saw it in the set of her jaw, the subtle shift in her weight, a suicidal charge to buy precious moments for the children and elders to escape. In that instant, a forgotten memory surged. The spear, the temperature differential, the silent wanderer's cry. "Wait!" he gasped, the solution blindingly clear. He spun, finding his remaining runner. "I need my escape pod now, and the bone spear," he ordered. Confusion clouded the youth's eyes. "The battle is here. The pod is beyond it. Trust me," Kale urged, his voice tight with desperation. "I know how to stop them. All of them. But I need the cryogenic fuel cells from my pod." The runner hesitated, then nodded grimly. "I'll bring warriors to escort you." "No," Kale snapped. "They're needed here. Just get me the spear. I'll make my own way." Minutes later, Kale was scrambling down a treacherous ravine, evading the main battle, the ancient bone spear clutched tightly. Its surface pulsed with warmth, resonating with the frequency that had summoned the horde. His journey to the escape pod was a descent into nightmare, a desperate dash through terrain crawling with the enemy's advanced scouts. Twice he narrowly escaped death, his knowledge of the terrain and the creature's blind spots his only saviors. The escape pod, its pristine hull stained by the planet's rust-colored dust, lay abandoned, the emergency hatch a gaping maw exposing its interior. He dove inside, heading straight for the environmental controls. The main power was offline, but the emergency systems hummed with life. With practiced ease, he disassembled the cryogenic cooling unit, extracting the fuel cells that powered it. Each cylinder, larger than his forearm, contained chemicals capable of plunging temperatures to absolute zero, preserving life in emergency hibernation. Wrapping the cylinders in his tattered shirt for protection, he raced back toward the canyon, the battle's roar growing with each step. The Nakai were faltering, their lines fragmented, the enemy spilling into the village itself. In the heart of the chaos stood Kra, blood-soaked and surrounded by fallen foes, a bulwark against the onslaught. The monstrous leader had cornered Lara against a rock face, her arm limp, her blade raised in defiance. "Lara!" Kale roared, cutting through the din of battle. "Hold on!" He surged forward, spear in one hand, cryogenic cylinders in the other, dodging a lunging creature. He reached Lara's side just as the behemoth prepared its final strike, thrusting the spear between them and the monster. "Now!" he yelled, pressing the cryogenic elements against the bone. The bone, still hot from battle, hissed violently as the supercooled metal made contact. Frost crawled across the shaft, forming intricate crystalline patterns. The sudden and drastic temperature change created molecular stress throughout the spear's unique structure. A hairline crack spiderwebbed across the shaft, a cold blue light pulsing from within. The fracture widened, and then came the scream. But it wasn't a sound at all, not in the traditional sense. It started as a subtle tremor, a barely perceptible quivering originating from the deepest quantum heart of existence. The sound reverberated outwards, shattering the divide between physical sensation and psychic awareness. Humans and the Nakai didn't hear it with their ears, but felt it in their souls. A bone-jarring resonance that set teeth on edge and sent shivers down spines. The air itself seemed to solidify, glittering with fleeting ice crystals that vanished as quickly as they formed. But for LRA, it was far deeper. The instant the ancient bone splintered, unleashing its pent-up power, she gasped as an alien consciousness flooded her mind. The death wail of a long-gone wanderer, etched into the very essence of its remains. She was engulfed by its age-old agony, its burning rage, its final act of defiance against the swarm that had overwhelmed it. The Horde, too, heard it, felt it, remembered it through the shared genetic memory that bound them together. Nearest creatures writhed in torment, their segmented bodies contorting grotesquely. Their mouths opened in silent, gaping screams as the sound tore through their crude nervous systems. The colossal leader reared back, its limbs flailing in abject panic. A piercing shriek escaped its maw, rippling through the assembled ranks. Then they broke. Blinded by terror, trampling the fallen, they surged away from the canyon walls. Those clinging to the heights lost their hold and plummeted. Those trapped in the tunnels fought to escape, crushing their brethren in their desperate flight. It was over in moments. A profound silence descended, broken only by the moans of the wounded and the ragged breathing of the survivors. Kyle stood, clutching the fractured spear, the frost-covered bone now shattered, the radiant blue light draining from its core. The cryogenic elements had failed, their remaining vapors swirling like spectral tendrils around the ancient bone. LRA gazed at him, her golden eyes wide with awe and disbelief. She had felt the death cry, had briefly merged with the ancient spirit of the planet's former apex predator. "You saved us," she breathed, her voice hushed. "We saved each other," he answered, his voice heavy with exhaustion. From the chaos of the battlefield, Kraz limped forward, his massive frame weakened by wounds and fatigue. Blue blood stained his torso, the result of numerous gashes, and one eye was swollen shut. He moved deliberately, stopping before Kyle. The warrior remained silent, his gaze fixed on Kyle's hands, the engineer's hands, calloused from labor, not war. They were now blistered from contact with the cryogenic cells and cut by the fracturing spear. Then he glanced at his own massive hands, forged for battle, now slick with the blood of allies and enemies alike. Slowly, deliberately, Kraz pressed his right fist to his chest, the Nakai gesture of deepest respect, and inclined his head. No words were exchanged. None were necessary. The silent acknowledgement spoke volumes. They wouldn't let Kyle leave. He became the guardian of the canyon with LRA, who became leader after so many elders perished in the battle. He studied the fractured spear and other bone relics. They learned to create various signals, repellents, attractants, warnings, the engineer and the warrior, mind and strength. Kyle discovered that the bone's crystalline structure reacted differently to different temperatures, and manipulation slow heating yielding one frequency, rapid cooling another, percussion yet another. Each affected the Nakai uniquely, driving some away, confusing others, and attracting specific groups. The Nakai started to rebuild. Their losses were immense, but they had survived what their legends deemed impossible. And they now had the Guardian, the outsider who had turned their enemy's weapon against them. Kyle taught them technologies they could construct from local resources. Simple pumps to draw water, improved kilns, stronger weapons, and LRA taught him their ways, their nuanced language, their hunting techniques, their spiritual beliefs woven around ancestor bones and the rhythm of the twin suns. Even Kraz grew to accept him, though the warrior never fully abandoned his traditions. "We need both paths," he told the young warriors he trained. "The old and the new, heart and mind." Then, glancing at Kyle, but mostly the old. A year passed, and the emergency beacon from Kyle's pod, strengthened by modifications using Nakai crystals, finally reached an Earth vessel. The rescue ship landed at the canyon's edge. Kyle walked out to meet them carrying a newly crafted spear, forged from the remnants of the original and alloys salvaged from his pod. It was etched with Nakai symbols intertwined with complex engineering formulas, a tangible echo. He was the embodiment of the union he'd forged. "Lieutenant Maverick?" the captain questioned, stepping forward, surprise flickering in their gaze. "We believed you perished. The corporation reported the Persephone's entire crew lost." "Just me," Kale replied, a hint of weariness in his tone. "As far as the record states," the captain acknowledged somberly, "your beacon, thankfully enhanced, was a stroke of luck. Command is offering a massive reward for your retrieval. Your cargo was more valuable than you knew." The captain glanced towards the distant settlement. "There's also talk of commendation, full promotion, even amnesty regarding the Sarah incident. They might even name a ship after you." "For surviving?" Kale countered, skeptical. "For accomplishing the impossible," the captain corrected. "You're already becoming a legend, the lone survivor who returned." "Returned? Where?" The word echoed in Kale's soul as he gazed back at the village. Blue-skinned children laughed, playing with toys he'd salvaged from the wreckage. At the canyon's mouth, LRA instructed young Akai, demonstrating a pulley system he'd designed. She paused, her golden eyes meeting his across the expanse. In their year together, something had grown beyond mere respect. A bond transcending their differences. Not quite love, but its genesis. A shared purpose, a shared victory. "I'm not going back," Kale declared, resolving. The captain's brow arched. "The reward alone would secure your future. Your daughter could attend any academy." Kale's heart clenched at Ellie's name. That's the hardest part." The captain scrutinized him, nodding slowly. "I've seen this before. Sometimes what we discover out here alters us too profoundly." Gesturing to his crew, he said, "We brought standard emergency supplies. They're yours. I can arrange regular drops if you wish." "Thank you," Kale sighed, relief flooding him. "There is one thing. My daughter, Ellie Maverick, is with her mother on Europa Station. Could you relay a message?" "Of course." Kale hesitated, seeking words to bridge the gap between his lives. "Tell her her father lives. Tell her I found something unexpected. A place where I'm needed. Where I matter." He swallowed hard. "Tell her I'm building a new world here. And when she's older, if she desires, there's a place for her too. Tell her I didn't abandon her. I'm waiting for her to join me, when she's ready." The captain nodded. "I'll personally deliver the message." As the rescue ship ascended, Kale returned to the canyon, to LRA, to the Nye, to his chosen life. The spear in his grasp was no longer a symbol of his past error, but his redemption. Not a call to death, but a promise of a future neither he nor the Nakai could have imagined alone.